Welcome back, everybody that has joined us before. And if you're new here, this is Cooking with Kat and Steph. She will appear momentarily, I promise. I'm Kat. I'm registered dietitian.
And I'm Stephanie. I'm a speech language pathologist.
We are so happy that you're here today. We are going to talk about
texture versus consistency.
Yes.
I think we had a really good comment, or one of our followers gave us.
She sent us a message.
A couple
weeks back, yeah.
That said it's very hard for people to distinguish between consistency and texture.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, we're going to try to break it down. And we're going to make soup, a vegetable soup that has a ton of texture.
Has a ton of texture, and we're going to try to blend it to a point where it has no texture.
Correct.
Or very little,
very smooth texture. Good. Yes. So yes. I have a pot going here. So we have an array of vegetables here: onion, carrot, celery, bell pepper, yellow squash, broccoli, and cauliflower, which is stinking up the house. Let me tell you. Because I got it in this little container, which I don't normally do, but it's a whole nother story. And I opened it, and whew, it was rough. Even just bringing it near my face it's stinky. So, and then we have some white beans here. Hey, Kara, nice to see you. Anyone else that's on, please say hello. Please feel free to ask questions, because this is a little bit more of a complicated topic.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, just a reminder, we're going to say it at the beginning and at the end of every Wednesday live that the first Wednesday of October, we are switching from, what's it called?
Doing our video on our business page. So we're going to stop streaming on our business page, and we're going to stream it in our group, Dysphagia Support for Nutrition and Swallowing.
Yes. So, if you are not a member of our support group, it's on Facebook. It's called Dysphagia Support for Nutrition and Swallowing.
Yep. Join
that group if you'd like to continue being a part of these lives. And we'd love to have you, so please join.
Yes, please. So, hey Karen, nice to see you. Thank you for the lovely comment earlier today.
Yes.
So, I just threw some olive oil in the pot. Okay. I'm going to add the onion first. Oh, I have garlic here as well. Add the onion first, and we're going to sweat that down a little bit. Hi, Charlotte. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Hi, Charlotte. Welcome.
And then we're just going to saute all these. We have some beef stock. If you're vegetarian, feel free to use veggie stock or garlic bouillon or French onion bouillon.
Did we want to add that meat? I didn't pull it out.
Oh, no, let's not, since we're vegetable. Yeah, we'll just do straight veggie in beef broth. It'll have really beautiful, rich flavor. We're gonna go for it. So
it's gonna be a veggie soup.
It's gonna be a great veggie soup. This is sort of a summer harvest veggie soup, other than the broccoli, because the cauliflower is a summer veggie. So here we go. Tell us about texture.
Let's talk about consistency
first.
Let's talk about consistency first.
Let's do it.
So, consistency. So you may be asked, what consistency do you tolerate? What consistency do you eat? So consistency is more about the thickness of whatever it is you're eating. So there's thickness in liquids and there's thickness in solids. So consistency can be about both. So you have thin consistency liquids, thick consistency liquids. So thick consistency liquids would be things like buttermilk and
heavy cream. Tomato juice has a little bit thicker.
It has a little more consistency to it. But if you think about the viscosity of it, that would be consistency. Same thing with solids. So some solids are thick and heavy, and so for example, this yellow squash, it's a summer squash, versus this carrot. There is a different consistency to the two solids.
Yep.
They're both solid, but this one will break down faster with heat, whereas this one will stay.
It's going to retain
thicker.
its shape for a lot longer. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Carrots. So consistency is about the thickness.
Yes.
Texture is more about what the surface of those solids feel like.
Right.
Or liquids can have texture also.
Yes.
So I like to remind people, because it's a big thing in my house.
Yeah.
For orange juice.
Oh, yeah.
With pulp or without pulp.
We are a with pulp in my house.
We have both in my house.
It's a big deal. People get
It
very
is.
upset about it.
And rightly so. I get it. So orange juice can have pulp in it. That is a texture. And usually the reason people don't like orange juice with pulp is because they don't like that texture in their liquid.
Right.
There's other kinds of texture in liquid. So for example, if you are on a thickened consistency liquid, like nectar thick or honey thick,
Yep.
you may thicken with a powdered thickener.
Yes.
That consistency of liquid can have a texture, and it may feel a little sandy.
Yes.
Or like it's got a little bit of
grit.
grit about it.
And
that would be texture.
some of the lower quality thickeners have more texture.
They do.
And so we really like the higher quality thickeners because they're smoother.
This is one of the ones that has very little, if any,
Yeah.
texture to it. It will help increase the consistency. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up.
No.
It may help increase the consistency, but not necessarily the texture.
Right.
So for many people who cannot handle texture, it's that feel of the outside of whatever that food is. So I was explaining it earlier like this. Your pillowcase at night. If you laid on a silk pillowcase, there would not be a whole lot of texture. It would feel nice on your skin. But if you had a pillowcase of burlap, that texture would irritate and hurt your skin.
Yeah.
So for people who have very sensitive GI tracts, particularly upper GI tracts, that texture may irritate and cause problems.
Yes. And I will say that people forget that their mouth is part of their GI tract. And so I know a lot of people who don't eat certain foods because they don't like the way it feels, and that's about the texture. So
I am one of those. I
Right.
don't have dysphagia that I know of yet, and maybe I will eventually have dysphagia
Maybe.
because of this, but I don't like slimy, like,
cooked fruit, not Stephanie's friend.
no, jam, jelly, I just don't like it. I don't
Right.
like the way it feels in my mouth. I don't like that.
I think the only one I've ever seen you eat is applesauce.
Yes, I do like applesauce. That's good,
Yeah.
but that's different. It's not the slimy.
Right.
Applesauce is not slimy.
Yeah.
But, so, what kind of questions do we have about texture versus consistency? What are you able to tolerate or not tolerate? Let's talk about it.
So I also want to throw out there, so I know people that they won't eat salad because they don't like and I can't even describe it, but it's like a fluffy, ribbony, irritating texture. It's thin, it's sometimes hard to manage. People don't like the way that feels.
Well, and I can tell you the reason for some of that, mine has to be smooth, team no pulp. I'm on your team, Kara. There's another half of my family that's on the other team, that's on the cat team. So, but again, texture, slime, that's not my thing. So let's talk about that salad thing. So for people that don't like salad or the way it feels in their mouth, or they lose it, If it's because they're losing it all over, because there's so many different, in salad, there's so many different textures. If you think about all of the different things in salad, tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce, and when you have that many textures, sometimes it's hard to maintain what we call that bolus.
Right.
Between the teeth and on the tongue.
Right.
And keep moving it to the tooth surface. That could be something going on with dysphagia.
Right.
Because dysphagia is, oral phase dysphagia is difficulty managing food in the oral cavity.
Right. And that could be that it ends up in the cheeks, or it ends up in the lips.
Down in the sulcus, above or below.
That's a fun word.
Sulcus?
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
Really?
Yeah. See, I learn something new all the time too. You'd think I know my anatomy, but some things are hard.
Well, I'll use that word more often.
Yeah, I like it.
Irritates my throat and esophagus.
You like it. It doesn't like you. Yep.
So that probably, Karen, has to do with how your mucous membranes are sensitive.
Yeah. And that sensitivity may be something that develops later in life, or it may be because it develops because of something with your nervous system or your muscles. It could be a medical
change over time.
Yep. Our taste buds change every 7 years, so your all the cells in your body are totally different in like 10 years. I had heard that recently.
That's
so
fun.
you're
That's
literally
a
total new person every 10 years.
Because that's fantastic.
All the cells
I wonder when my 10 years is up, because I'm curious what I'll be next.
But it stands to reason that your body adapts and changes with what's going on with your nervous system and your muscles and your nutrition and your hydration and anything medical.
Well, and I wonder too if maybe some of that is, if you've ever heard the term, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Absolutely.
And I think that can adapt and be relevant to textures as well.
Absolutely.
The more you have not eaten a certain texture, the more difficult or repulsive it may be to the system.
So we have some clients who we try to get them to increase their textures because they can tolerate that increase in texture. It takes time, but it's irritating and it's anxiety inducing sometimes, and it's about
exposure. It's about
exposure. I know it was
exposing.
me last week.
Exposing is the word I half said, and exposure is the other half of the word. So it's about exposure. So the more you expose yourself, same thing with me and applesauce. And I've started putting chia seeds in my applesauce, which are a little bit slimy.
They are. Yeah.
So I'm gradually adding a little more of that slimy texture that I don't like.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe I can eat pie.
In
someday.
Maybe in 10 years you'll be able to eat pie.
That's what I want to know when my 10 years is up.
Well, we're going to mark it from today. Anyone that continues to follow us, we're timing her.
Changed over time and had to adjust.
Yep.
That is true.
And that works both ways. For either if your dysphagia is progressing so that you need thinner and smoother, it can go that way, or it can go the other way for some people, and it's a matter of figuring out what to do next.
So the sensory issues that Karen may be showing right now and having to go thinner, it could be the opposite. It could be that your sensory receptors dull over time, so you need more texture.
Right.
I've had clients that I've recommended high texture and high spice, so that it wakes up those sensory receptors.
Right.
Hot sauce. I've had people just douse with hot sauce because then they could feel it.
Right. I've heard you say that a couple of times. Yeah. I'm adding some herbs, so I'm adding sage, parsley, rosemary, thyme, and oregano.
Do you want me to start peeling this off?
Yeah, that'd be great. And if we don't get a whole lot, that's fine, because I'll just toss it in their hole and I'll pull the stems out after a little bit.
You don't need a lot. It's pretty strong.
Yeah. All these herbs were picked today, so they're
like 20 minutes ago.
They're gonna be
strong,
nice and flavorful. So we want to add flavor.
My mouth isn't used to chewing anymore. Ooh. Are there ways to safely apply? Yes,
that's
Kara, there are.
Fantastic question.
That's my favorite question of the day.
I can't wait to hear you answer it. Because this is not a me question. This is definitely a speech therapist question.
Yes. So, have you ever seen? So you can. Let me see if I. Cheesecloth. You can put things in cheesecloth, wrap it up. They have that in the baby section of any grocery store. They'll have things similar to this with a little, you can screw it off, put something in it so that a baby can chew on whatever. You can put grapes or you can put whatever, but it's got a netting so that when you chew, it basically breaks. It won't let anything through that's
gonna hurt you.
That's gonna hurt you. But it depends on what your swallowing problem is. But so you can do that. You can put things in cheesecloth and chew it like that, and you'll really only get the liquid out of it. But another option would be there are these things called chewy tubes. I have
we've talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah. So there are chewy tubes, and they're made for chewing exercise. You can order them probably on Amazon. I've actually never looked. But I've ordered them from rehab catalogs, but I bet that they have them on Amazon.
I feel like we looked because I was curious as to what they are, and we couldn't find any on Amazon, but we're going to have to look again.
Okay, so chewy tubes. If you can't find chewy tubes, I have gotten other types of tubes as well. So there's TheraBand tubes that I've just tied a knot in one side of the TheraBand tube that you actually use for exercise. Tied a knot in it so that you can hold it and you chew.
It's just to retrain your brain.
Retrain your brain and the strength of your jaw.
Oh yeah.
Because you will fatigue very quickly.
Yep.
But what that doesn't do is that it doesn't have the food that's being chewed broken down and then you having to manage it along the way. So there are some steps along the way, and Kara, I am happy to talk you through this.
You might need to schedule a call with us because we'd love to
book a call with me.
We'd love to talk, Kara.
Because that's a different transition too. As you start chewing food, then you have this broken down food that you're having to manage that's very different than liquid. But there are strategies to work your way through chewing and swallowing again.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
Ooh, do we still have that tomato juice?
Oh yeah.
I want to add a little bit of tomato juice in here because I think that would make it add a little bit of acid to it, which is always a good thing with soup. We always want to have a little bit of brightness, whether it's tomato juice, lemon juice, a little bit of vinegar. I'm just going to pour it all in here.
That's fine. We've got a few more.
Just a few?
Just a few.
All right. Okay. So now our soup is just going to... I only put in 2 of those sage leaves because they're really strong. And that still might be too much.
Well, it's all right.
Okay. Not sure. Kara, I did see your post about having trouble getting into the doctor, and I am so sorry to hear that you're having some trouble with that. I've heard that a lot lately. I've heard that from a lot of people that they're having trouble getting in to see doctors.
That is just crazy.
I've find my way through a lot of support groups on Facebook. And I'm seeing a lot of it lately. And I had a call with a woman the other day talking about her son who's in his 20s and having some health things. And they're having trouble finding doctors that will listen to the symptoms. So it's kind of an all around Here, throw these in there too. Hi, puppy. You can't have this. Oh, I was going to throw some beans in there too. So these are just white beans. I'm just going to throw a handful in here. So why am I adding the beans? Texture.
Yes. All the textures that we have in this, we are screaming.
Yes. So we want
mixed consistency.
Mixed consistency for this. Did you talk about mixed consistency already? Does
didn't.
Everybody know what mixed consistency is?
How many of you have heard someone comment about
say
mixed consistency?
Write the word mixed if you know what a mixed consistency is.
All right. Well, mixed consistency. Mixed. Kara knows.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Kara's been around. She gets the lingo. Mixed consistency is when you have multiple different consistencies.
Okay. So some people are following us.
So it's when you have a thin consistency and something thicker, like a solid.
Yep.
There's usually textures involved as well. So lots of things going on with mixed consistencies, and difficult for some people because while you are managing the thin liquid or the liquid at all, your mouth is still having to manage the solid. So that looks beautiful.
So this, let's see if I can tilt it so they can see it a little bit better.
You can tilt some more.
This is a mixed consistency because it's liquid broth and it's thin liquid broth and a lot of big, chunky, different textured vegetables.
Yes, and the herbs that are floating on the top, that is a texture all in itself. That for some people, they can't handle it.
Right.
Or they feel like it gets stuck on the walls of the esophagus or on the walls of the pharynx as it goes down.
Yep. So I actually, I did talk about this with watermelon a while back. I think it was at the beginning of the summer.
Okay.
So
I remember that now.
Watermelon, while it's a solid, is full of juice, which technically makes it a mixed consistency. So I had watermelon at home and I was feeding some to my dog and I was like taking a spoon and tossing him chunks, right? And he squished a piece and he started coughing because my dog was caught off guard by the juice and he had a symptom of not being able to manage mixed consistencies.
Well, I will tell you, I did it yesterday. Talking on the phone with my daughter.
I did it this week also.
And I ate a grape. And in my talking and eating...
Not paying attention. I did it this week also. Totally guilty.
I had to put my phone down.
Yeah.
And...
Cough.
And cough.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
the cough is good. Sarah, yep. Watermelon's good for them and they love it. So it's important to remember that this happens to all animals. We all have a moment at times where something gets away from us. We can't manage it well all the time. And for me, it's usually when I'm distracted and I lose it and then I end up coughing. And typically it's when I try to take a breath while I'm distracted and I'm chewing and then I don't have control of it and it goes right into my airway and I end up hacking up a lung. And I felt like some of it got stuck the other day because it was just right at the top there. And I felt like I had to cough, but I couldn't get it to come up. So it cleared after a while, but it's, as all of you know, it's a terrible feeling.
have we ever talked about not patting someone on the back when...
You and I have, because I tell this to people all the time. You taught me this years ago. So if I take a sip and it goes down the wrong and I start coughing...
Never, ever, ever pat somebody on the back like this to make them cough. Because basically what you're doing is you're forcing gravity, you're making gravity force it down. So I would rather rub her back so that she coughs it up. I don't want to do this and
yeah,
the percussion make it go down.
Right. Gravity will make it fall.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
We've never said that here before.
No, I don't think we have. All right, so this is bubbling away. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes so these veggies can soften a little bit more. And then we can try this a couple of ways. We can pulse it so we have more of a textured soup, and we can puree it.
Yep.
And I did bring my blender. I just didn't bring it over here because I wasn't.
And I forgot to charge
I
mine,
I was chopping things and I forgot. So, who has any other questions about texture versus consistency? Because this, and I'm guessing we'll probably get some comments later on after the video's over, because I believe it was Shannon who sent us the message when she was trying to explain it, and it's a complicated topic.
Right.
It's very complicated. Your words sometimes get. It even happens to us when we'll say the wrong thing on accident, and it's already complicated. And if you say the wrong thing, then everybody's confused. So we understand. Yeah.
Yes. Let me.
Mine's in one of those bags over there. I think it's in the blue one. Yes. So.
Do you want the chopper too?
No, let's just use. See if I can lock it on accident again.
But now you know how to unlock it.
Now I know
that's
how to unlock
beauty.
it. Yep. Okay. Okay. I think it's on pulse now. We'll find out here in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So Charlotte. So watermelon. Yep. So if you want to give her watermelon and she struggles with swallowing the solid and the liquid at the same time, I would puree it and make it into watermelon juice. And then if you need to strain it, you can strain it. If you need to thicken it just a little bit, you can take a thickener and just do the slightly thick amount. So this is like 1 stick for 8 fluid ounces of a thin liquid. For watermelon, because it does have a tiny bit of texture there, you may, depending on the thickness that she needs it, thickening it just a smidgen might help hold everything together.
Right. Or the speech therapist in me, have her try to put a piece of watermelon in her mouth and tuck her chin so that the liquid falls forward. If her lips are strong enough to hold that liquid in, so while she's chewing it, she should be chin down, and then that way when she's ready to swallow, she can lift her head up and swallow it all at one time. What happens is while chewing on the solid part of watermelon, we lose the liquid part. So the chin tuck may help. Try that.
We did a did you know video, shorts, Instagram reel, something along that line several weeks back, and Stephanie was talking through how to do it just drinking water. And so I took a sip and tilted my head while she talked through it, and so it can be very helpful.
It's right, as long as she has the strength in the muscles of her mouth to be able to initiate it from that position, she should be able to do the chin tuck and maybe enjoy just a regular old piece of watermelon like that.
There you go. This is why we keep you around. Thank you, Apple, for talking to us. So let us know, Charlotte, how that goes, because we do want you to be able to enjoy things the way they are.
Yep.
In my mind, I don't have that expertise, so I give you the next best option.
I think both ways are good options.
Yeah.
Try them both.
Right.
See how she likes it better.
Yeah. So then Karen says, I think it'd help newbies to demonstrate how to do IDDSI flow testing. So we did that several months ago. Was it already months ago? We'll do it again here in several weeks. How about that? Because I think that would be a good refresher.
I think it is a great refresher.
So not next week, because we already have a plan for next week, but 2 weeks from now, we'll talk about the IDDSI levels for the liquids, because that's really, really helpful to know as well, because they're different consistencies. Each level is a different consistency. So, ooh, yeah.
I keep it in our magic bag.
Smart. So we do have the framework here.
So this is, liquids are 4 levels, actually 5 levels, and solids are 5 levels also.
Yeah, 5 levels.
So we can go over this if you haven't seen this before and have questions about it and where you fall into this or where your loved one falls into it. Well, it's a good idea, Karen. Thank you.
Yep.
We will go through this.
So Kara, chili for fall and white chicken chili. So so I think our first fall recipe that we did last year was chili mac.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
So that will definitely be in our list, and then we can do white chicken chili also.
Yummy. Yes.
One of my favorite things.
Yes.
My husband's been talking about making it too, so I bet we can make both of those things happen. So I love having these requests because we want to know what you want to see so that we can show you how to do them the easiest way possible.
And get them to the level where you can enjoy them.
Yeah, exactly. So I added some salt, and now I'm adding some pepper.
Good?
Yep, these carrots are taking a while to cook down. They're still pretty.
Because, why?
They are a denser consistency.
Yes.
Yes, I got it right. Yeah, so the cauliflower and the broccoli, it breaks down much quicker. It's got more surface area that liquid can get in there and that heat can get in there. The carrots are just tougher.
They are tougher. They're more solid.
Yep. Those root vegetables, except for potatoes, because potatoes break down pretty easily. But carrots are more fibrous. They have more fiber, and if you can do pureed carrots, they're really good for you. All right, this is looking beautiful. I'm gonna turn it up on high. And then I'm gonna take a picture of it.
For our consistency, for our mixed consistency.
Yep, except my camera got steamed up by the steam.
It's because it's hot. All right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Gloves.
Any other requests? Any other ideas? Yeah, we are here to serve you and help you understand what's going on with your GI tract, upper GI tract. I'm not a lower GI specialist. I have other dietitians for that. But what are you dealing with? Are you dealing with stuff getting stuck? Are you dealing with feeling discomfort? Are you dealing with trouble with your chewing?
Are you having trouble initiating a swallow?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the sensation that particles stay behind?
Oh yeah, we hear that a lot.
Particles.
Yeah.
And it probably has to do with texture.
I would say a lot of it has to do with texture. Yeah. Who knew that texture was going to be such a big deal? And my mom is an OT. Sometimes she watches. And I hear all the time that she's a pediatric OT, so she works with kids. She deals with textural issues with kids. Like there are kids that don't want to brush their teeth because they don't like the way it feels. So there are a lot of sensory texture issues going on in the world that people are not even aware of.
So, right. And then sensory. So if the brain is interpreting something sensory that it doesn't like or doesn't know,
right,
it's going to interpret it first as pain.
Right.
Because it's going to try to protect you. So if you're eating a cactus, it's going to want to protect you from eating and swallowing a cactus.
Right.
But it may not be a cactus, but maybe your brain is interpreting it like it would interpret a cactus, something you shouldn't swallow. So your brain is going to try to protect you, but it may not need to. It may be that you just need to expose yourself to something a little bit less texturous.
Right.
Is that a word?
It is now. It makes sense. I liked it.
A little less texturous to build up that sensory understanding.
And it's important to know that this can cause some anxiety, so don't do this alone. Make sure you're in a safe place with people that are supportive and trust you. That might be us. We do this virtually for people. And we want you to feel like you're in a safe space, even though what you're eating doesn't feel right. Because just because it doesn't feel right doesn't mean it's not right. It just means that you have to retrain the signals in your brain.
Right. So whether it's sensory, it would be brain understanding, training the brain.
Right.
If it's muscular, it would be we need to address the muscles of swallowing.
And if you have a progressive form of dysphagia that is not going to get better and is just going to get worse, then we need to talk about how to maintain where you're at right now without your brain panicking.
As long as possible.
As long as possible.
And we can also help to understand what the next processes will look like and how you manage as things start to change.
Yes. Because there's one thing that always happens in life, and things change. That is that things change. Nothing stays the same, as much as some of us would like it to sometimes. Yeah. So we work through a lot of that change and how to manage that.
I'm kind of waiting on the 10-year change, so.
I got you all excited about that.
I just want to know when my 10 years is up.
Oh, I love it. All right. I'm going to blend a little bit.
Let's blend.
All right. Yeah, off is probably good. I feel like I probably should use a funnel. But it'll be okay.
No, stop.
I'm a little bit on the daredevilish side.
I'm a canner, so I have a canning funnel.
I know you do. I'm going to add a little bit of our cooler broth to this. All right. How about that? So, I'm going to grab a towel because this is hot. We never want to seal a blender when it's hot. Okay? So I'm just going to put the towel over the top.
If you have a big blender, you just open that. Most of them have
a little cap or So that wasn't close.
It was not.
That's
close.
Okay.
So I'm going to take some out just at regular mixed consistency.
Okay, so regular mixed consistency. Yep. Okay, so this is pretty texturous. If you can see this. So we are gonna blend this again, but that first blend, it's got a lot of texture in there. It's a consistency, and we would have to test it with the funnel. So Karen left the comment about the flow test. This is a funnel that's specific to the International Dysphagia Diet Standardization Initiative, and this would measure the consistency. This is very, very textured.
Yes. So if you will notice, we've got big chunks. There's still some bigger chunks in there.
Yep.
Can you see that? Probably not. No,
Okay.
you can't.
It's just a little too far away.
But there are some bigger chunks of the cauliflower, some of the smaller things that broke down quicker in there are smaller. So we've got several textures and
this is still a mixed consistency.
yes. And there's a lot of texture in there. We have big texture, little texture.
Yep. So once we get this cooked all the way so that everything is soft, we could consider this an IDDSI level 6, where it would be soft and bite-sized. So this, we could get to level 6. And then if we blend it, actually, where it's blended to right now is probably close to a minced and moist.
It's minced and moist.
But not quite pure. I mean, it could be pureed, but there's still some larger pieces in there.
Yes, it's definitely at a minced and moist.
Okay. So I'm going to blend again.
But there's multiple consistencies. So if you have trouble managing solid and liquid at the same time, you have that.
Yep. It might not go well. It might hurt. It might be risky. It might not be safe. Where's the button? Okay. I always like to say blend again. If you need it super smooth, blend again. Okay. You can tell as it was blending that it's starting to get more homogeneous because there's less on the walls than there was before, and it's starting to stick together. So those beans that we put in there help bring everything together because they're starchy, and starches are sticky and they make everything come together. So now,
so go ahead and pour some out. We've got just a little bit. So we still have,
there's still some texture in there.
We may always have texture. We may not get away.
I think if we cooked it in the pot for an hour or two, we'd get everything super, super, super soft and broken down, and then it's gonna puree super smooth.
So I just had a little piece of the cauliflower.
Okay.
That was not soft. So that's why it's not blending as well. So
it needs to cook longer, but we don't want to keep it here all night. So that's why we're just talking this through. I'm going to blend it one more time. If it gets too thick and starchy because of those beans, we add more broth and we thin it out just a little bit. So if you need it a little bit thinner, you need to add more broth, more liquid, so that it's to the right consistency for you. Okay? All right, one more blend. This will be number 3. So this looks beautiful.
It does.
It looks really, really beautiful. Yeah. The colors aren't great on the camera, but they look really good in the bowl. It doesn't look as pretty on my screen that I can see, but it looks really pretty here. You've got the red and the white and the green, and
well, I think the green bowl may be taken away from the.
That could be. The green bowl is pretty, but it's probably.
Well, just yeah.
All right, shall we try the next blend and see where we're at there? It's smoother.
It's much smoother.
I see an herb there. That bite that I got was really smooth.
Mine too.
I got a very teeny something. Carrot. That seemed softer. It was very soft. I could get through it with my front teeth. But if we let this go, it'll continue to get softer. So this is the other thing I want.
And the more you blend it, the more it will break down all of those little pieces that are still hanging out.
And these blend jets are great because you can blend like for a properly charged one like 14 or 15 times. And typically with like meat, when we've pureed chicken or beef in the past, we've had to blend it like 8 times. So with veggie soup, that was the 3rd.
Yes.
And if we went 1 or 2 more, it would probably get it super, super smooth.
I think the beans really helped.
Beans help with texture because they're smooth and velvety. One of my late grandmas, was one of her favorite things was to just cook beans and puree them with some onion powder and garlic powder, and she just had super velvety. Yeah, she's an old
Sounds
farm
good.
wife.
I
She
like
wasn't the best cook, but let me tell you, she made a couple of things that were pretty darn good.
It's fun. That is fun.
Yep. So, texture, consistency, 2 very different things.
Right. So there's not a whole lot of texture left in this blended 3 times.
Right.
Now, had we cooked it a little bit more, there are a few pieces of texture left in there.
Yeah.
But this is more about the smoothness, the
Right.
consistency. It's thick. I would consider it
I would call
moderately.
Yeah. I would call it somewhere between liquidized and pureed, or moderately thick and extremely thick. Because it's not pudding thick, which would be pureed. So that would hold its shape. This is definitely still soupy and moves easily. So yeah, liquidized or moderately thick. Now, if this is still too thick for you, you need to add more liquid and puree it a little bit more.
Right. And if you need more protein, bone broth would be a good option to add to
or
it.
tofu.
Or tofu, and that will make it super smooth.
Yes, it will. And it won't add any flavor.
Nope, it'll take on the flavor of what's in there, and the flavor is really good, by the way. We will put this recipe on for you.
Yeah, I still have the ones from last week that I haven't posted yet, so I'm sorry about that, everybody. It's on my to-do list. I have taken a list of all the recipes we've made for the last year, and I'm working on compiling them. So we'll have them all posted at some point. So texture versus consistency. Yeah, we hope you all got some information out of this. If you are watching later and you have questions, please comment or send us a message. We're happy to answer questions. We want you to get the clarity that you need.
Yes.
And then first Wednesday in October,
we will be streaming through
the support group.
Dysphagia Support for Nutrition and Swallowing on Facebook.
Yes.
So if you are not a member of our support group, now is the time to join the support group so that you can still be able to see the live videos that we make on Wednesdays.
Yep.
We may have a couple of weeks where we're not on a Wednesday, but we'll let you know.
Yeah, that'll be in October though.
Right.
Yeah. So we're so happy you joined us, everybody. I just can't convey how much we love your support and how much we love supporting you.
Yes.
So please let us know what you need. Let us know what your questions are. And we're here for you.
We are here for you.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Reach out.
We'll be back next Wednesday, and we're going to talk about anti-inflammatory foods.
And if there are any dysphagia questions or dysphagia specific things that you want us to go over, shoot us a message, send us, put it on this.
Comment, message, email.
Let us know.
Etc. All right.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. You're welcome.